I'm
Rah!
angry about cats.
When did we all get this dumb?
Almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear warfare. I don't see any bodies, so it doesn't count.
I'm angry about cats.
I'm the chef. I want to hear one thing. Yes, chef.
Come on, man. Use your brain.
The Why I'm Angry podcast starts now.
All right, it's the Why I'm Angry podcast. This is the chef. It's been one of those weeks. I'm gonna get some background boss battle music behind me here as I load up the link on X here. Since for some reason now they will not allow you to post on X unless post video on X you're a premium subscriber. So I'm gonna load that up right now. All right, we're live. All right, so this week we're here in the Freestyle Man Cave studio. I am Aaron, the chef. If you have questions, subjects that you want us to talk about, we want to become a little more user friendly, a little more up to beat with what you guys want to hear and what you guys want to know. So send us your subjects, articles, whatever you want, to whyimangrypodcast@gmail.com. As long as it's interesting and or witty, we'll get it on there for you. And we'll bring it on one of these shows, and it may not be the next day's show or whatever, and we may end up, if we get enough of them, have to go into the mailbag and do just mailbag check-in show. But Why I'm Angry Podcast @gmail.com. Get your information to us. Help us out figuring out what we're going to talk about and things of that nature. As always, follow, like, and share us. whyimangry.com is where you can support us. And, at this point, there's a little bit of things going on at the whyimangry.com. We're working on trying to get it refunded and reset back up. So there might be just a little bit of downtime over the next few weeks or so. That being said, our advertising dollars, we've pretty much made about $10 to $15 in advertising over the last 2 years. So we don't get a lot of advertising dollars. We're pretty much self-funded. And any little bit that you guys send in to help us out goes straight to the advertising and or funding of like our website and things of that nature. So if you guys want to help us out, go for it. So let's get into it. Kind of like the title says, it's kind of about Biden this week. You kind of think about it. What could they do to get the nation off of talking about Trump and Trump being shot and whatever else, the RNC going off and just a unifying of the RNC and that kind of thing, and just what can they do to get some of that publicity back? Well, let's sack Biden. Sends out a message on non-presidential paperwork. Got a lot of people wondering where he's at, if he's alive, for a few days and that. And I was at my brother's or Honest Abe's wedding shower, and all of a sudden my mom, of all people, looks down at her phone and is like, Biden just called it quits. He's out of the race. And I was like, oh wow. I mean, I try to, when I'm at family events and stuff like that, try to unplug. I try not to be that guy, but so we all jumped on our phones and we're checking it out. We're like, yeah, that is this right. So we got the message, and immediately, obviously, we started to say, who's up next? So I've always held, honestly, that you know they can't be so hard up, or they can't really think that Kamala Harris, other than she's going to be a great puppet for the Democratic Party, for whoever else is in charge. She's going to be a great number 2 Joe Biden, younger Joe Biden, that they can't think that she can get it. I mean, she can't put together a sent. I don't know anymore. I really don't have a clue. I've always thought that if they were really smart and wanted like a sure thing slam dunk, they would bring JFK Jr. back in. I mean, he was a Democrat for all intents and purposes, like just about 5 minutes ago, and he went out because he was running against Biden, and no one they didn't the group didn't want the party didn't want him to run, didn't want that kind of division. So weird that they don't allow division in the Democratic Party. Something I've said in the Republican Party for years is that we don't run things like the Democratic Party because they're all one brain, and they send out that one email that everybody reads, and then they all follow it. They just all one brain. And so when you see them, this week, when you see their all of their comments, everyone that's gonna comment is gonna comment that they're supporting Kamala. Even if they're secretly working deals in the background and stuff. My thing was, I always thought that they would bring back in, JFK Jr. He's already been running. He's been campaigning some. He doesn't seem like he's going hard after Ohio. I haven't seen a ton of stuff there, but I'm sure he's hard in California and the Northeast, where he's got a shot at picking up some states and stuff like that without any major backing. But you back him with the Democrat Party, and although he's not a super conservative or anything, I think he picks up some of those moderate Democrats who were like, Joe has gone off the deep end, can't vote for Joe. And so I think he's the one that brings them back. I'm not sure that he has the following with the leadership of the country that just wants a puppet. I'm sure that he's not sold, and that's why he stepped out of the party and ran a separate campaign. Unless he always thought that Joe was going to crack down like this, or crack like this, and run away. And so he thought, if I'm running a campaign, maybe I'll get the nod. But I think it's telling that everything is Kamala right now. And then even the polls are saying, the polls are saying that she may have a leg up on Trump now. I mean, for real. I guess if you want to get into historical votes, and we're gonna, but I'm tired of the history of the vote overcoming the actual qualities of the person who you're voting for. Like we used to make history with, the first woman in space, and she was an exceptional person. Like, she was one of those people who was the exceptional physical athlete. She was able to be in space. She was as physically fit as a man to be in space. We didn't just throw, we could have at any time thrown a woman at the presidency, any woman at the presidency, and said, "Oh, well, look, we elected a woman as president." Just like, I just feel like we've lost the fact that this is the top job in the world. This is the president of the United States. This is the people. This is the leader of the free world. We should have a high degree of leadership. We should want a high degree of person running the country. Now, I am not saying that Trump is the top of, he's the best person in the world, but he's at least in the realm of at the prime of his, at the top of his game. You can see how different him and Biden were at the debate. He was quick. Biden was spewing out the same rhetoric. He would argue. Biden never argued because he doesn't have an original thought to him. And so I don't know, because Kamala Harris, if you listen to her speeches, the few that they allow her to give, she's about as meandering and roundabout as Joe Biden. And so I don't know. Let's get into what can happen, or what is next, because I'm sure that right now, the way things are looking, that the party has circled the wagons around Kamala Harris. I got a survey asking me if the vote was today, and I was voting, if the ticket looked like President Trump, Joe Biden, President Biden, whoever was on the green ticket, whoever was on the independent or the libertarian ticket, and JFK Jr., who I would vote for. And so, with that ticket, I'm probably voting for Trump, because I don't, unfortunately, like I've said, the rules are not set up for a third party. So I'm not throwing my vote away, hoping and dreaming that some third party is going to get enough votes, because you have to have 120 some delegates. So you're just not going to get there. You're not going to make it. If you're the third party, it's made for two parties. Even though and we talked about, it wasn't set up this way till like the 30s. And so, yeah, I'm not, just not throwing that third party delegate away. Now, if we change the electoral laws, which we can do, in Congress, it's not like it's some kind of big woo thing. They can change them, and they could set it up so that the person with the most electoral votes gets the presidency, and then maybe a third party, and maybe it's, that they get, you have to get over a certain amount for them to certify. Maybe it's, add a third party in so that it's, now it's 85 votes or 85 electoral votes, at least, while maintaining the top vote. Then we start to get into the point of maybe a third party is plausible. Not like a third party is relevant, but plausible. And I know I've talked about this before where I said, well, how do you start a party? Well, you got to have a ton of money. And then you need to use that ton of money to gain recognition by winning electoral elections outside of the presidency. We'll start winning elections in other states, so that you can get, that recognition. Then that recognition is becomes less expensive because you've got this following now in each state. The Tea Party actually could have probably gained a lot of momentum because you were other than being Republicans, that we were electing, they were also building a following, and now they have a group that's of the Republicans considered the Tea Party Republicans. And maybe if that group started building funds and stuff like that, big super PACs and stuff, then maybe they could start actually doing things. And maybe if they started running on as the Tea Party, then that's the deal. But at this point, I feel like they have to kind of step, realize that that they're just kind of working their deal and they're just kind of, running things kind of on the side. And realize that you're going to fall in line with the two parties until you can do something like that, until you can get the until you can get the momentum, the recognition to be able to go any farther than that. So with that kind of long introduction here, I've got kind of the rundown of where we're at on what happens next. So it says, and I've got a kind of an article here for you, and that kind of thing. There we go. And it says, despite the rumors, obviously, for the last few weeks, Joe Biden has there's been rumors, and this is it. This is right here, right now. Right now. Let's do this.
Ooh, y'all woke up this morning.
This is the point in it that I say, I told you so. Soak it in. Have your good cry. Give yourself come back here in a second. I'm going to give myself a hand. Yep. Thank you all. I told you so months and months ago that Joe Biden was not making it to the end. Now, a lot of people told you this, but when they announced that there was going to be a debate, I said, and I quote, one debate, and that debate will signal his drop off and the end of his presidential run. So, which probably looking at it right now was probably not that big or of a hot topic or a hot take. But it is reassuring, life affirming that I still have a little bit of eye, I still have a little bit of hand on the pulse, that I can see the conspiracy in the conspiracy. That they still are making their plays in a way that we can still see them ahead of time. Now, I didn't see the last election going quite as crazy as they did with all the Dominion machines and all of the votes and just everything. I did not see that coming, mainly because I didn't see them being able to get away with Biden getting more votes than Obama did and just being able to just like throw that in our face so easily. Didn't see that. But anyhow, so Biden is out of the race, obviously. We've talked about that for the last let's see, almost 20 minutes that we've been on the show. And he put his endorsement behind Kamala Harris. So that's that. And yeah. So what does that mean? Well, we've never really gotten into this point before. We've had people drop out of the race here and there. But normally you still have a front runner, or you actually have people who are running against this person and they're not the front runner. And if they are the front runner, it's so early in the race that, it doesn't really matter. So where are we at? Well, right now, everybody is kind of rallying around Kamala. And because of Biden's endorsement, his campaign funds have been transferred to her campaign. I have been seeing her ads, and I will tell you, they are painful. Painful to hear. Next month's. Painful to hear. Like, I've been seeing them on YouTube, and the more and more I've searched on YouTube, even searching for that video on YouTube, it was hard to find because it's not positive for Kamala Harris, and so they buried it, dug a grave and put it as far as they could again below. And you're gonna see on Google, you won't be able to find any funny or demeaning things about her. You won't be able to find her speeches as easily because most of her speeches are just a train derailment and about 4 seconds from being the worst speech on earth. And that's each speech that she does. So anyhow, you're going to realize real fast, I think it's going to become even more apparent that we're not living in a free society like we think we are. Freedom of speech isn't freedom of speech as you used to think about it. I got on to X for a second to see the account, to just kind of log in, make sure that the account was right, and things of that nature. Also to load the link to the live feed, and they were just like straight. The protests are burning the American flag. And so they are they're just out on the street, just the Hamas protests are burning the American flag, and that's okay. You can throw that on whatever social medias that you want, but when it comes down to you can't say anything about the the presidential candidates for the Democrat Party. Now, you can say that Trump is a egotistical fascist. The dude's ran the country before. I don't know. I just, if you're out there, I don't know if you've realized this, but he didn't take over the country. He didn't seize power. He didn't take our military and wipe out Mexico or Canada, or he didn't seize Puerto Rico as a state. He didn't take in, American Samoa. He didn't he didn't try to colonize any parts of Africa. I mean, for real. But he did run one of the better economies in the world at the time. We were actually lowering our inflation rate. Taxes were starting to kind of come around, and companies were bringing millions and millions of dollars, billions even, back into the country. There were tariffs on things from China and things from Russia and different places that do not favorably trade with us. And things that were running a little bit better. We were energy independent, which I don't care what your Green New Deal thoughts are. We were energy independent, which makes us a safer country. And if you look at what the president is supposed to do, he is the executive branch. He is the top police officer in the country. You could argue in the world. And what that does is, or what he's supposed to do, is keep his citizens safe. Execute the laws as you were. And honestly, we didn't need any new laws to keep the southern border safe or secure. We didn't need any new laws to keep us out of war, or to tell the UN to start ponying up their money. We didn't need any new laws for him to go make a deal with the European Union so that they have to buy so much of our products, and he didn't have to create any laws or executive or fake laws with executive orders to start drilling oil in our country so that we could run a safe and secure country. Now, maybe the powers that be that run the Democratic Party, they want to keep the oil in our country, so that far after everyone's dead, there will be oil here, and we will have a safe and secure country beyond our kids. But I don't see where that helps anybody or does anything. So she has his money. The party elites have formally endorsed her candidacy. A majority of delegates have said that they will back her. But until they vote on August whatever, she is not the actual candidate. because they can do whatever they want. Because they pledged to Biden. They all voted, all the states, they ran this sham of a presidential primary, which is fine. It's okay. It's whatever they want to do. Most of my friends that are Democrats or will vote that way, we're not excited about Biden, but shoved them down their throats. They all took the pledge. They decided, but now their votes can go wherever they want. So what happened was they ran a fake primary with a fake candidate, because this candidate we could all see. Like I said, I just, I told you so moment, but this candidate we could all see was not going to make it. My mother-in-law said, I told him 6 months ago he wasn't going to make it to the end. Not going to make it to the end. Everybody knew it. So they ran a fake primary, took your votes, and now they're flushing them down the toilet and choosing whoever the heck they want. Now, for the next few weeks, they are going to pretend that Kamala Harris is the nominee, so that either you get excited or they find out that you're not excited about her, and maybe they have to figure out somebody else that they can run as a puppet so that they can run this country for another 4 years, or at least have a shot to run this country for another 4 years. Because if you're listening to this, you probably know that Trump is not the puppet that is going to be, following the giant crowd, the big conglomerate who is running the Democratic Party. And you can't really you can't really say it's conspiracy theory, because even Obama, after when he got off the teleprompter at certain times, didn't exactly know what to say, because he wasn't personally running the country. He was a puppet. And so is Biden. Biden was a puppet, or is a puppet. If he's still alive, or if he, all that good stuff. Since they continue to, take photos from back in the day and put them out and stuff like that, or, so when it comes to the time to actually vote, they can do whatever they want. And it's not a faithless elector. It's not like they're pledged to anybody, because they're not. They pledge support to Biden and his 3,949 possible pledged delegates can vote whoever they want, and they're told to. In the Republican Party, the delegates are bound to a candidate. So I don't know what would happen if this went down, but I'm sure that each state would have to have a revote, or at least the party would have like a delegation set together to figure out what they were going to vote, who they were going to vote their delegates for, and those delegates then would go to the committee, or go to the RNC and cast that vote for the state the way that the state party had decided. But now that Biden has dropped out, those electors have even more standing to choose a new nominee, especially since there wasn't a competitive primary to reflect the sentiments of those who elected them. So they don't have there's no like, oh, well, the second person in charge, the second person they voted for, let's vote for that. Let's put up the votes for that person. Pretty much in their rule is to, or their standing is, they must in good conscience reflect the sentiments of those who elected them. That is their charge, where the delegates in the Republican Party are bound to that candidate. These guys are just, all in good conscience, which is why Bernie Sanders got outvoted by, in the DNC 5, 4, 6, I don't know, 8 years ago. And Hillary Clinton was elected because there were super votes and there were people who in good conscience reflect the sentiments of who elected them. And so they figured out the rules. Really in the Democratic Party, the rules don't really apply. It's whoever's in charge of the party, who's ever pulling the strings, is going to figure out who's the best person to be nominated. Coming back to that survey I took, the second set of that survey was if the election was today and the ballot showed Biden or showed Trump, Harris, blah 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 blah, Kennedy, who would you vote for? And again, not going for Crazy Harris, cackling Kamala. Gotta be Trump, because honestly, even the Green Party candidate isn't super exciting, and neither is the Libertarian Party candidate. So, for one, for two, they don't have a ton of money. They're not going to get there. Again, it's a third party thing. I talked to my wife about, this whole no labels party. I want to see how well they keep together now that Joe Lieberman's dead, and see how they, if they can continue to keep together. But again, it comes down to wasting hundreds of millions of dollars on a presidential candidate where you're getting one shot at, lightning in a bottle. Where, some of these weak congressional, if you went out and look, even if it was you took a spot from a Republican, in these weak states that, maybe they're, up for grabs, and maybe a third party could come in and grab a seat. I mean, that's what Joe Lieberman did. He had a seat in, I think it was New Jersey, and he realized that the party no longer reflected his views and opinions, and so he stepped out, and he was honestly just an independent for years. And then obviously he retired, and then he started this and the No Labels group. And I don't care what your name is, honestly, but if you start to stand for the country, then I want you to do well. If you're standing for the country, if you're standing following the Constitution, and honestly helping people to be free, because otherwise we're not we're not pushing the agenda. Then we're pushing some other agenda that doesn't keep us as free. So one of the other things about the DNC being August 19th through the 22nd is that in most states, and this is where it gets me. What is the plan here? Because in most states you have to have your all of your voting packet turned in to be on the ballot by 90 days before the election. So in Ohio is one of those you have to have 90 days. Some of them are less, some of them are I don't know that any of them are more, but at least 90 days, which seems pretty reasonable. It would be August 7th, which means any Democratic presidential candidate would not be on the vote. So that, that would be the thing. So now they've kind of said, with Biden not, now not being the candidate, and they're going to decide officially. I mean, they literally, I mean, they don't have to, I guess, but they need they to be on the up and up, to at least feel like they're on the up and up, or at least, give you some kind of feeling of fairness or fairdom. They need to at least decide in the DNC, because they could be like, oh well, we don't care about your stupid rules or whatever. We're going to choose our president right now. And then they just, who cares about the rules? We're adults here. We can, we can eat dessert for breakfast. And, they could do that, but 2024 presidential chaos. So, to avoid the chaos of the convention, they're going to put together a virtual roll call on August 1st. So they will confirm their nominee as of August 1st. Oh, okay. So we're not going to confirm our nominee at the Democratic National Convention. So pretty much in 8 days, we're going, maybe it's 9 if I do the math wrong. I don't know. 8 days or so. So anything after 8 days or before 8 days, I've got this. We're gonna choose the presidential candidate, and go from there, outside of the parameters that we've all already said we would go through. Now, they do say about 3,000 of the delegates have said they now plan to back Harris. Obviously, there's about 8 days for that to change. Things change in an instant. Ohio has also changed their laws to go to 65 days, but that doesn't come into effect until September 1st, which would be after the August 7th deadline. So there's kind of that gray area whether all that would, what they would do. Yeah. So that just throws another monkey wrench into it. So obviously, they had to break the rules and choose a delegate before August 7th, before the DNC, so that we could have a more united, come together group. We could be in the Democratery, something like that. So, what What about any lawsuits or anything? There isn't too much legal challenge. Experts have said with the withdrawal coming safely before the whole having to choose thing. Nobody really cares too much. Considering that Harris was on the same ticket, the rules are a bit fuzzy. They could decide to challenge that she gets all of the funds and stuff. But other than that, there's no major challenge that would stop her from running the race. So at the end of this, you would think that pretty much Harris has the kind of the upper hand. You would think she's pretty much a lock for the nomination. And that could be. I mean, they say that 3,000 delegates are planned to give her. So far, there's a few challengers that could come up. Most of those people are just kind of guesses. This article says Gavin Newsom from California and the governor from Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. So that could kick up. I've got another one, and we'll kind of go through it. And we'll kind of give their age and what's going on. Again, Vice President Kamala Harris, and what kind of she has is that she kind of she and the Democratic Party, which may be true, may not be, the people that I've polled around me that I know have told a different story, but they say that she kind of solidifies the minority vote, helps the Democratic Party or Democrat Party to pull in maybe a few more of the women voters, and maybe a few more of the minorities, the black vote, the Latino vote, maybe the brown vote. She pulls that in a little bit more, and so being that she's a lady, and she's got another ethnicity, and I am not going to guess what her ethnicity is. She could be African American or whatever, but she is 59 years old, and she's the vice president, so she does bring that kind of that kind of following. So they do think that she's going to bring that deal and then unite the party. And honestly, they say right now that she's polling higher than Trump by a point or two. Not that I always believe their polls. I know that they're trying to circle the wagons and trying to build a hype machine around her. Might get a little annoying after a little while, because watching her commercials on YouTube have been pretty painful. Also that could be in the ring, Joe Manchin from West Virginia. he's been actually trying to run for president. He was considering a presidential run before this for the next cycle, but he he could make a run. I mean, he's done some things that honestly bring him a little more moderately fiscally. He's probably more of a moderate, maybe not quite a centralist or whatever, but maybe more moderate on that. He has gone after the banks and tried to bring the money back to West Virginia that they was losing. They have kind of stomped on him in the Democratic Party because of the fact that he runs West Virginia, which is a propane and natural gas heavy state, where they need that to keep going, and they've been shutting down propane, or not propane, but natural gas pipelines, and the natural gas wells for the last few years, just trying to just be able to control the energy more and more. So he is 76, but he did leave the Democratic Party in May, but continues to caucus with the Democrats. He's now, I guess, he's considered an independent. I did think I saw that, but so he could make a run in the next week or so here to and build a good following. So again, Gavin Newsom, solid candidate from California, 56 years old. He has kind of been semi campaigning, as he did a face off with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in December. That was kind of after both of them were kind of out of the race and not really running, but it was a good debate. And it actually was pretty decent. I mean, I honestly, both of them made points. At least Gavin Newsom was kind of at least eloquent and kind of came back and forth with his talking points, and that because it was off the record, or it wasn't really a debate, that he was being him, and it wasn't like I've got to run on just the talking points. And so some of that's scary, but yeah, some of it's just whatever. Again, Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, possibly the replacement for Joe Biden. She ran she won re-election by double digits in 2022 in Michigan, which Michigan is a pretty Democrat state, pretty heavy Democrat state. So winning by double digits in any election is big, but that just just to throw some water on that, just it may not be the biggest win ever type deal. So but let me get back to it here. Oh, wrong one. Okay. So this article doesn't say how old she is, but whatever. Governor J.B. Pritzker from Illinois, 59, has been Illinois governor since 2019. His second term, he's a strong voice on the issues like gun control and reproductive rights. Not much name recognition, so I would doubt that they would make much of a run. Just I think it's gonna become a name that you recognize, like one of these top three you could recognize Whitmer. She made kind of a national news while running. Gavin Newsom, Manchin has done some things outside of it. Kamala Harris. So I don't see him as one of the big ones. There's a couple other ones. Andy Beshear maybe has enough to run as to make a run. He is 46, so he is one of the young ones. And he's a Democrat in a red state. So he did come out and support Harris over the weekend on Monday. I guess Monday when after the weekend when Biden dropped out. But he's actually got a little more name recognition than a couple of these other lower ones. But again, I could see him running in the next election more than this one. Governor Wes Moore from Maryland. He's made a little bit of name for himself. 45 years old. Made some name with the response on the Baltimore bridge collapse. He's the youngest and he's the only black governor that the Democrats have right now. But again, I don't see him as that big name person. Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota. She's 64. She ran against Biden in 2020 in the primaries. So she has been out there doing things. But I don't see again the name wow. All right. So I don't see again the name recognition that you would see with others. The one that I did see I do think has enough name recognition out of the group. There's Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, governor, Senator Raphael Warnock, Jared Polis of Colorado, Roy Cooper from North Carolina. I mean, they've got a pretty good list here. But again, I don't think they have, maybe these people have the right kind of experience, but I don't think they have enough name recognition to this month pick up the nomination and in 2 or 3 months become the elected president. And I think that's what they really have to look at, is that can this person become the president that, can they be elected that fast? And you need a major level of name recognition or somebody that's been running. And one of those people that I see on this list that could is Pete Buttigieg. He's 42. He's also already been vetted on the national stage after running for president in 2020. And he didn't run for president, but he ran for the Democratic nomination. But he does show up on Fox News fairly often. They're saying that, he could maybe speak to both Democrats and Republicans. I don't know too many Republicans who are like, yeah, that Pete Buttigieg guy, let's follow him. But that is somebody that could pick up the nomination. He has been out there. He is the transportation secretary, so he does get some following. And I just think, he has a charismatic ability to gain popularity fast. I know that a lot of my friends that are Democrats would probably jump on the Buttigieg train. That would probably be that he's a younger guy. He's got ideas. He picks up a wide variety of the vote. he picks up the LGBT plus QL alphabet vote and all of that. So I think that's one of those deals where, to me, he makes sense on a content level. To me, he also makes sense on the fact that he may be bought and paid for level. That the powers that be have already bought and paid for him, and so he's the transportation secretary. He already bows to their whims and already he's following the rules. And so maybe he comes in as the vice presidential setup for Harris. And then they get the full on effect of having a black woman as the presidential and a gay man as the vice president nomination. It's the bifecta of presidential tickets. No pun intended, kind of. I don't know. I'm not real sure on this. So, I think that the other choices are better than Harris. But at the same time, as I'm sitting here thinking that it's only going to be 3-4 months here, it's July, August, September, October, November. So 4 months pretty much that you have till, and November, it's the beginning of November, so we got about a week here. So it's really 3 months and a week or two. I don't see it that, she may go on a debate. She may not have to give more than 3 speeches on the national stage, and they may just do the Biden deal and lock her in a basement and show a bunch of patriotic things. And the one article says Trump on in life on air admitted he was going to be a dictator on day one, which he did. But he said for an hour or for and it wasn't even a dictator. It was more that he was going to go and reissue, and take away all of the executive orders that were just asinine. He was going to issue executive orders to reverse the executive orders that have been plaguing us for the last 4 years. So, and then issue the ones that get us drilling and get us energy efficient again, energy dependent on non-energy dependent and things of that nature. So I do think that this is going to be a crazy about week and a half here. They'll have the vote, nominate the nomination, and then we'll kind of know. Maybe they won't pick the vice president. I don't know if that person has to be on the ticket to be, has to be set up yet. So maybe they, I don't know that. So maybe they'll pick that up. But otherwise, you just never know what's going on. I mean, just it could change at any minute. They could come on and they could, they made up super delegates for Hillary. They can just stuff the ballots of their own phone, because they basically took whatever you voted for, and they, if you're on the Democratic side, they took whoever you voted for and they flushed it down the toilet. They didn't care one bit about who you decided or who you chose or anything like that. So that's it. So to get off of this a little bit to kind of clean ourselves off, kind of shower us from the filth of having to talk about the Democratic funeral. Let's get into something else. So I don't know if you're traveling or if you work in the travel industry or you've done anything with travel over the last week or so, but this whole Microsoft thing has really really kind of hampered things. Unless you flew Southwest, which they don't use Microsoft at all, or they don't update their Microsoft, I guess is what they're saying. So if you tried to travel and you found out that there were delays this last week, on Friday, I think it was, you will you'll enjoy. This is what happened. And this is right now. The U.S. Department of Transportation has launched an investigation into Delta Airlines, and their treatment of passengers. So there's been a big push. There's been a law that's been passed by Congress, that now says that they have to do certain things. So there isn't anything that says how much they have to pay back or pay the people back for, but there is a law now that says that they do have to pay people who have been delayed for a certain amount of time or been canceled. Let's see. Yeah. So basically, Microsoft went down. There was an update, which I'm sure a lot of companies like Delta or other big IT companies, a lot of companies with a giant IT group will kind of like, they have a dummy server that they're going to hit the button and update Microsoft on if there's a new update, to make sure that dummy system doesn't go down before they do a full wide scale update. Well, in our trusting society nowadays, I know back in the day when I was part of an IT group, that's what we did is, we took a computer off the line or offline or from that wasn't connected to the rest of them, and then we updated it with whatever software, whether it was the new virus software or the new even now when I'm in social media and stuff like that, I'm not updating like minutes before we go on live here, or that that I do the other live broadcast that I do. And so you test it, so if this goes live, then I can always bring it back, or then I don't lose everything if it's not, if it didn't work, like if it just wasn't 100%. And so I think that, yeah, Delta was super trusting, and they just beep, hit the thing. And so they call it CrowdStrike outage. The outage caused widespread disruptions to 8.5 million Microsoft-based systems, and led to the airline canceling. Delta canceled on its own 7,000 flights since Friday. So my wife works in the airline industry also, and she was off on Friday and got 3 or 4 major, like, call in, we're opening a line for all management to be able to ask questions and figure out, because they had issues also. And so they do joke that the only group that didn't have any major issues was Southwest, and Southwest even openly admitted that they didn't update their systems. So So while the outage affected booking and check-ins, boarding passes processed across many airlines, mainly with my wife's company, it was more of the communications between whatever were run by Microsoft. Most carriers have largely resumed normal operations. Now, in the backside of things, customers obviously aren't going to see the worst of it. They're going to see just whatever they can't not show them. So they're going to see the semi, whatever. My wife's group is still catching up. Anytime you lose 2 or 3 days or so of flying, you now have to, especially in certifications and stuff like that, you now have to catch up, find those flying hours and training hours that you lost. So the back half of things, I'm sure on Delta is getting, their backside is getting crushed right now. They're just like 7,000 flights is a lot of hours of missing time to get trainings in and stuff like that. And sometimes you, as a customer, you don't even realize that they're doing training or they're doing certifications while you're flying on it. Most of the time it's the end certification. It's like the final checking, doing the final checks and stuff, making sure that they have enough time to know that they're good enough to fly your planes and stuff. But it's still doing certifications and trainings and stuff like that. So, but 7,000 hours. While the outage affected a lot of the booking processes, most companies have largely resumed. Delta, which uses Microsoft for more than half of its IT infrastructure, cites issues with its crew tracking tools, the ability to process a high number of changes as the primary cause for its ongoing delays. So they're still delaying. And so DOT has gotten, which is Department of Transportation. So Pete Buttigieg has received numerous complaints about Delta's customer service, including long wait times, stranded passengers. Delta says it's offered travel waivers, meal vouchers, compensation to affect travelers. So while airlines can determine their own compensation policies for flight delays, the federal law mandates refunds for significant delays or flight cancellations. So that's kind of the new mandates, is that if there is a major delay or flight cancellation, that now people get refunds on things. So that being said, Southwest, in a similar deal, Southwest was fined in 2022, $140 million, for a similar. They had a major meltdown. I don't know whether it's computer system just crashed and burned or what. But or they, somebody opened a phishing email or whatever. But yeah, so they had a similar deal, and the U.S. government fined them $140 million, and I don't know where that money goes to, either fees or fines or how to keep in running the FAA or what. But it normally does not go back to the passengers that felt the hurt. So Netanyahu will be on the Hill this week, addressing Congress. Today, Speaker Mike Johnson of Louisiana, to shore up his support for Israel's war on Gaza. He is going to meet with President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris this week, and former President Donald Trump also on Friday. Protesters have been opposing the war, which is why I saw on X a bunch of people burning flags and all of that good stuff. But, I digress. So they also have gone through, and there's it's not the Liberty Bell, but it's a Freedom Bell or whatever. There's a whole lot of, just graffiti and defacing. So these people are fairly, peaceful. They're pretty much peaceful people. They are respectful of the country that has given them all these rights and freedoms to do all of this. And I'm sure they just love being here, because they're not getting bombed to death in Israel, because their terrorist group has decided to attack a sovereign country. Like, if you're really that hardcore about it, go back to the Gaza Strip and fight Israel. But don't fight us about fighting Israel. If that's your group, you go. You do this. Get on it. Don't go burning stuff in our country. We're not the ones you're fighting, and if we are, we're going to take care of you real quick. Especially once we get rid of Biden. And hopefully once we get rid of Harris. Anyhow. So the Paris Olympics started this week. I got to watch the U.S. Kids soccer team, the U23 group, lose to France 3-0. That was pretty much the top of my day. Exciting stuff there. One thing I did want to address, that I forgot to address last time, was I saw a meme, and this just kind of, honestly, this just kind of speaks to what, let's see if I got it here. Yeah. This just speaks to what the millennial, or not maybe even the millennial, maybe the Gen Zs, or I don't know, whatever group that LeBron James's son is in. He gets on and he says, he goes on and says, haters often mock my average of 4.8 points at USC. Well, yeah, you didn't score any points. If you don't score points, get rebounds, block shots, have assists, then you're not contributing to your team. And when I look at his stat line, his averages or whatever, he's not close to averaging a double digit stat of any kind. He's not scoring 10 points, 15 points. He's not getting 5 or 10. He's not getting 10 assists, maybe 4 or 5. He's not getting, he's not playing, he's not getting blocks. He's not super tall. So he's 2 or 3, maybe blocks. I don't know. Rebounds, even you don't have to be giant to get rebounds. And he's not anywhere, maybe that's another 4 or 5, 6 rebounds. So yeah, your stat line isn't anything, man. How'd you get in the NBA? How'd you get drafted? You can't say it's not your dad, because that's exactly what it is. And he goes, where do they, my stat line isn't good enough, saying I'm not good enough to play at the Lakers. Well, yeah, if you don't show that you're good enough, like, it's just like coming out of college and you just I show up like 3-4 days a week. Well, your job is 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And then, and so this is the answer. He goes, but they don't know. The people who have said he's not good enough, they don't know that I've always hidden my true abilities and never played my best there. Like, why? Why aren't you showing out? All these other people showing out. Because my skills, the why is on there. It says, because my skills have already surpassed the players in that league. This seems like a delusional kid. Like, I'm not going to play hard because I'm better than all of you. Yeah, but if you don't play hard and you're better than all of us, you should still be scoring 10 points a game. You should still be having 10 rebounds. Like, if your defense is as good as as good as some people have said here and there, that's, come on, man. And he says, and all the people wonder how I'll play in the G League next season. I'll still hold back like I did with the Trojans and only unleash my full potential and showcase all my skills when I get to play alongside my father in the NBA. Well, listen, man, here's the deal. People aren't going, you're not going to get that option if you don't show that you're good enough to play. Just because your dad's blah, 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 it only gets you so far. So if you're out there being an idiot, not playing as hard as you want, they're going to think you're a lazy bum. You may have all the skills in the world. Look at Ronaldinho. He had all the skills in the world. Like, he could dribble and drive around anybody, but he was a lazy bum some. And so he never really reached his full potential. He's never going to be talked about in the same level as Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, Pele, Maradona, none of those guys. And he probably had the skill to do that. Like, if you look at him as a kid, when he was just having fun and they let him, and he wasn't getting fat, dude could run around anyone. He could dribble around you. He could kick. He's the one guy that he could run at full pace pretty much, kick the ball over his head, and pass the ball to himself. But he didn't want to work that hard. But he did show out in the beginning. He knew as a kid he had to work hard, do the thing. But when he got to the professionals, when they're paying him big money, then he decided he wasn't going to work so hard. And he found out early in his career that he wasn't going to go anywhere else. He ended up losing his positions. He ended up having to, he played his last bit of his career back in Brazil. Literally one of the best soccer players that I've seen. Like, Messi is a whole nother world. But honestly, I'd put him up with Cristiano Ronaldo on probably above him on being able to move around people, take on a person one-on-one. Cristiano Ronaldo, he's one of the top guys because he can kick it. He can put a goal in from anywhere. And yeah, he can take on a guy, but he doesn't have the dribbling skills that Ronaldinho had. This kid, same deal. Same deal. If you're in college right now and you think I'm too good for this place, I'm not going to work hard. No matter what you're going into. If you're going to work in a factory as a low-level manager and you think you're going to get up into the high levels and you don't work hard because this is beneath you, too bad. That's not work ethic. That's not being grateful for where you're at. And I see so many kids nowadays that don't realize, and even little kids in football and sports that don't realize you have to earn your spot, and not even earn your spot, but you have to earn the respect of those people around you to gain higher spots. Go through the trenches like everyone else did. Run through the muck. You don't want to join the army anymore because you don't want to go through basic training. You don't want to get dirty and earn the badge that everybody else did to get where they're going. This kid's the same way. I'm not gonna work hard and maybe injure myself in these low leagues that are beneath me. But she's never scored bunches of points, never taken 3 games and said, I'm going to throw my team on my back and score 25 points and have 15 rebounds. Yep. All right, man. You do you, because that's what you're doing. Just crazy to me that we're raising a society like that just doesn't want to isn't into doing things on their own, doing things for the betterment of just isn't into doing the work to get to where they need to be. Yeah, some people just get picked out of the crowd because they're lucky. This kid isn't lucky. Is lucky to have been born by LeBron James, and I'm sure he's worked hard, and I'm sure he's got some skills. And if his skills are better than the rest of the league, good for him. But he's killing his time. Why would you play in the G League if you're so much better? If you showed you were better than the G League, they bring you up. I mean, come on. Like this is silliness. Just, so there's just one of the big, like, yeah, I meant to talk about it last week, and I think the week before even, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. So we talked about this a little bit with the assassination. They came out and they said that they weren't on the roof because there was like a 3% grade on the roof, and so it wasn't safe to be on the roof. So that's in a conspiracy theory, or in a conspiracy, you're going to have elements of truth, and then you're going to have these one weird things that you're like, like the magic bullet, like just different things like that. And I think this is our one weird that seems like a lie. So well, like I said, Olympics started. We're the U.S. is behind. We lost to France today in soccer, which is okay. We've got 2 more games, but they're not easy. So follow that. Hit us up at whyamangrypodcast@gmail.com. Send us information, things that you want to listen to, you want to see, you want to hear, you want to listen to, and we'll get you on, get your ideas on, and get you some information about whatever you want to talk about. It's going to be a busy week. And maybe I get on a couple more times as we see things coming down. So definitely get on our podcast. The podcast will be out at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we'll have that set up for you. Check out our website at whyimangry.com. Hopefully that'll be up and running for you. And if you want to show some support, I've got some channels for you if the website is not up. And I can give you that information on an email. So you can always email me if you want to show some support, $1 or $2 a month, or you just want to throw, $100 at us. That's cool too, or $20 or $5 at, 50 cents, whatever you want to throw at us. We're good with that. But yeah, keep your head on a swivel. Keep looking out. Things are going to get a little crazier. And I don't think things are going to settle down until after November. So it's the Why I'm Angry podcast. And
Remember to follow, like, and share the Why I'm Angry podcast across all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast. The Why I'm Angry podcast ends now.